Back in late 2025, a tiny update for React dropped, version 19.2.3. And on the surface, it looked like, just another patch. But this one was different. This was the final piece of a puzzle that completely reshapes how we build for the web, and it really marks a huge pivot point for all of front-end development.
So, you might be asking yourself, why is a tiny little update like this such a massive deal? Well, the answer is a wild ride. It involves a critical security crisis, the end of developers having to be micromanagers, and a whole new way to think about how your components live and breathe inside an app. Let's break it down.
To really get why this new version is so revolutionary, we have to go back in time a little. We need to understand the problems we were all dealing with, the real pain points of what we can now call classic React.
Honestly, for years, working with React felt like your job title was micromanager. We had to manually orchestrate every single step of any kind of data interaction. From setting loading states to handling errors, you were forced to write all this complex, fragile code just to handle the simplest user actions.
I mean, just look at this. This is what a simple form submission used to look like. And I'm sure this is giving some of you flashbacks. You had to prevent the default behavior, manually set loading states, wrap everything in a try-catch finally block, and then manually update both your data and your error states. It was just a city of boilerplate code, and every single line was another chance for something to go wrong, opening the door to nasty bugs like race conditions and memory leaks.
But then, React 19.2.3 came along and delivered this beautiful, elegant solution to all of that mess. It introduced a new, way simpler model that lets React do all the heavy lifting for us.
This slide really gets to the core of the shift. We're moving from an imperative style, where you're coding every single manual step, to a declarative one. So instead of juggling a bunch of useState hooks and try-catch blocks, you now have a simple form with an action prop, and it's all powered by a single hook, useActionState. What this really means is that React is now managing that entire state machine for you. It's a total game changer.
All right, let's tackle another classic React headache, what I like to call the tab problem. You know this one for sure. A user's filling out a big form, they click over to another tab in your app to check something, and when they come back, poof, everything they typed is gone. Why? Because the component unmounted, and its state was completely destroyed. So frustrating.
Well, the fix for this is a brand new component called Activity. And honestly, the best way to think about it is cryosleep for components. It lets a whole component tree go dormant, like it's being frozen in time, without ever actually being destroyed.
So how does this magic work? Well, when a component wrapped in activity gets hidden, React does two things. It visually hides it, and it pauses all of its effects to save CPU cycles. But, and this is the magic part, it preserves all of its state right there in memory. The moment you switch back, it's restored instantly. So you get the performance benefit of unmounting with the amazing user experience of keeping everything exactly as it was. It's the best of both worlds.
Okay, but this update isn't just about cool new features and making developers' lives easier. It's about fixing something that was critically, fundamentally broken. We have to talk about a major security flaw.
This is a CVSS score of 10.0. For anyone who doesn't know, that is as critical as a vulnerability can possibly get. This wasn't some minor bug. This was a gaping hole in the armor of any application using React Server components, a real 5-alarm fire.
The vulnerability was given a pretty scary name, React to Shell. See, because React Server components, or RSCs, run code on the server to fetch data and render, they became a perfect target. React to Shell basically allowed an attacker with no authentication at all to execute their own code on that server, giving them complete control. It was bad, really bad.
And because React 19.2.3 contains all the cumulative patches for React to Shell and other related issues, upgrading isn't just a good idea. It's a security mandate. It's something every team needs to do to protect their application and, more importantly, their users.
Okay, so the old way was complex, and the new way is secure. That's great, but how do you actually get there without having to do a massive rewrite? Let's talk about migrating to the future of React.
The best approach here is a gradual one, and it's called the strangler fig pattern. It's pretty clever. First, you upgrade to 19.2.3 immediately. Just do it. Get those security patches. Then you start small. You refactor a few of your most important forms with useActionState. After that, you can go in and optimize the user experience by wrapping your tabbed interfaces with that new activity component. See? It turns a huge, daunting task into a manageable step-by-step plan.
And hey, here's a quality of life win that might be worth the price of admission all by itself. Debugging server rendering errors used to be like finding a needle in a haystack. You'd get this super vague warning like, text content did not match. Thanks. Now, in 19.2.3, you get a precise diff. It's like a GPS telling you exactly what's wrong between the server and the client HTML. This alone will save developers countless hours of frustration.
So let's pull all of this together. As you can see right here, the core shifts are crystal clear. Form submissions go from this manual, error-prone mess to being completely managed by React. Tab switching goes from state loss to state preservation, and most critically, your app's security goes from vulnerable to totally hardened. This isn't just an update, it's a whole new paradigm for building with React.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it all. The complexity of manually managing state. That's no longer a badge of honor for developers. It's just technical debt. All that boilerplate code is now a sign of a legacy codebase. React 19.2.3 gives us the tools to build faster, more secure, and way more resilient applications. The future of React is, without a doubt, here.
Hey, if this breakdown helped you understand what's coming in the future of React, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be covering more big shifts in the developer landscape right here, so you'll always stay ahead of the curve. Thanks for watching.